Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to the latest edition of AI and You, a program that explores and discusses issues on artificial intelligence or AI from the perspective of Islam. AI and You is produced by Batrisyia Afrina, and I am your host, Shaikh Mohd Saifuddeen bin Shaikh Mohd Saleh. This week, ladies and gentlemen, to discuss the topic Breaking Barriers, Muslim Women in AI, please welcome Dr. Fairoza Amira Hamzah, who is the President of Women in AI Malaysia. Assalamualaikum and welcome to AI and You, Dr. Fairoza.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So glad that you could join us this afternoon for the program.
Thank you very much for inviting me as well.
Right, so shall we jump into the topic?
Yes, sure.
Right, my first question to you, Dr. Fairoza. My observation is that there are not that many women in the field of AI. So what inspired you to pursue your career in the field of artificial intelligence?
Okay, first of all, my background is under electrical electronic engineering when I started my bachelor degree way to PhD. But then when I was in my PhD second year, I think, I was fascinated with the artificial intelligence itself because my research field is more towards traditional image processing, which we didn't involve any artificial intelligence. But then since the ImageNet happened, which is the biggest image classification where people can classify anything by using artificial intelligence, and it's much more better. So that's why I started to deep dive into the AI itself.
Right. So as a Muslim,
yes.
How do you think cultural and religious values influence perspectives, attitudes and ethics in the development of AI?
It's very important actually, because in AI we have one sort of like field which we call as AI ethics. This AI ethics, if the people itself doesn't have any ethical, like they can just like throw out any data, they can just manipulate any data, or they can just like manipulate the machine learning itself, then it will become very terrible. The model will become very terrible. So that's why the religious belief, the faith in Islam, the bias, the unconscious bias that we have in our mind, that I think like from the religion itself, the one that actually put me into that when I want to create a model, I should create it beautifully, I should create it ethically, I should make sure that everyone can benefit it.
Right. Is it correct if I were to say that AI is a field that is dominated by men? And if so, what challenges have you faced in this field and how did you overcome these challenges?
Yes, it's very true that AI is dominated by men. I think like until this year, we can have, I think, only 10% or 20% just female researchers in the field of AI. But field of AI itself, it has a lot of like branches. We have AI researcher, AI engineer, we have data scientist, data analyst, data engineer, and also the one that data curated. But mostly, I would say it's very difficult to get female. The evidence of that is like when women in AI Malaysia actually trying to build up a lot of programs with women in AI, which is like getting a lot of speakers of women, because our quota usually will have like 70% female and 30% male when doing any events. But then it's very difficult just to fill in the audience spot and also to fill in the speaker spot. And even if you have a lot of like AI gathering in the world, like the conferences, maybe summit, and we can see like the amount of female is just like 10 to 20%. But then if you want to find a female with hijab, it's less than that, maybe just 1 or 2%. I usually become the 1% that join the event that with the people with hijab lah.
Okay. When you say 10 to 20% women, that is global statistics.
Global statistics.
You were in Japan before. How is the condition there in Japan with regards to this?
Oh, it's much more worse compared to Malaysia. Because in my class, I have like 117 male and 7 of us is female, which is less than 10%, 5% only.
Okay, 7 out of 117. This is
yes.
in Japan.
Yes.
In Malaysia?
In Malaysia, we have 50-50 at that time. But when I joined the workforce, I could see like the 50-50 become much more lesser lah.
Okay, so meaning those who studied AI did not. Some of them do not actually pursue their career in AI.
Yes, exactly.
Right. How can we change this situation?
It's very difficult actually, but what we are trying to do in Women in AI Malaysia is we try to provide mentorship to the juniors. So we have like some students that actually join us as a core members doing the event together. At the same time, they can get the connections to be scouted in any companies that we are in, or maybe to be scouted as a PhD or master student. So that's how what we are doing lah. So what we can help them is just mentoring. And another thing is like we try to work with the government also actually, and also the United Nations ITU. Last time we were invited to the Bangkok for the Asian AI development strategy, so that we can have a more inclusive AI. We can provide more mentorship, guardian, and of course like to make sure that we have more people that develop AI together.
So in your opinion, or in your observation, from your observation, women in AI, are they more in the academia or in the industry?
It should be balanced.
Okay.
We couldn't have like everyone in industry. We shouldn't have anyone that in academic as well, because at the end of the day, we in industry, we will use the research that is built by the academia. So we should have both, because the one that developed the model itself and the one that curated the data should be balanced.
You mentioned about your organization, Women in AI. I'm curious to know what is the objectives of the establishment of Women in AI?
So our main goal is bridging our minds together, which is like we want to reduce the gender gap inside the field of artificial intelligence. So we were founded on 2016, if I'm not mistaken, from France actually.
Okay.
And the one that actually founded Women in AI, two of them are Muslim.
Okay, that's
Yes,
interesting.
a Muslim women, but they are in French. And then after that, I found the organization online through a lot of I think at that time I joined one of the it's a boot camp for 10 weeks on artificial intelligence, and they put an advertisement on Women in AI and try to volunteer become an ambassador. So that's how the Women in AI itself started. So for me, my main goal and strategy is in the Asia Pacific itself, in the Asian region, because Asian, we only have Singapore, the most developed country, followed by us, Malaysia and Indonesia, and we would like to have Asian countries people to be more, think tank on this part of artificial intelligence lah.
Okay. So for Malaysia, the Malaysian chapter, Women in AI Malaysia, how many members do you have at the moment?
We have about, I think, more than 200 already.
Right.
So, and then because we have our followers in Facebook is already 3,000, I think 1,000 something. And then our core members, we have 8 at the moment, and 50% of them from academic, 50% from industry. We have one member, our co-founder. She's actually from not in a technical background, but she already jumped into the data. She's now a senior executive in research analytics. So previously, she don't really understand what's going on with data and AI, but now she can manage to have it. So that's why I think AI, you join us is something that can be open mind to everyone lah. Can be mind opening.
Right. Doctor, could you share with our listeners some of the contributions made by women in the field of AI?
I think the most notable one will be Fei Li. I really respect her. Professor Fei Li is, I think, I don't remember, MIT maybe. She's the one that built the ImageNet, which is the one that you guys have the image classification, right? For example, you want to see this is a phone or something like that, or the basic core of image processing. So she's the one that built it. So I think she's the most notable one in the field.
Right. What about in Malaysia?
In Malaysia, we have a lot. I think the one that I really respect will be maybe Prof. Rose. Prof. Rose from UTM, already retired. She's the one that actually take advance on the national AI development strategy in Malaysia.
Right. Okay. What are the initiatives taken to get more women to be involved in AI?
First of all, I think work-life balance.
Okay.
Because for females, when they graduated, what they're looking for is they should be able to take care of their family as well as to take care of their career. So work-life balance is the most important. So that's why I really like for those company that really enforce on work from home or hybrid, because that's really flexible for them. And then another one will be the support system, because it's very difficult to actually, because building an AI model or data, we need to actually engage with a lot of stakeholders. So females need to be able to engage with a lot of their members. So they need to have a very good support and communication skills lah. So I think both of them is the most important, work-life balance and also the support system.
Right. One of the things that people often talk about in Malaysia is that not many students are interested to do STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Here we are talking about getting more people, especially women, to get involved in AI. So how do you see ourselves positioning ourselves, the country towards, mastering AI, and yet, the younger generation may not be interested to go into STEM?
Wow, I think this is a very difficult question because STEM itself, because AI itself is built by mathematics, right?
Right.
So when we are talking like you need to be good in mathematics, then you can join AI. Then everyone will be, no, I don't want to join AI, right? Something like that. But then, okay, STEM is very important, but you need to know that even though like you don't really good, you are not really good in mathematics itself, but if you have the interest in AI, nowadays in AI field itself, we have a lot of like career that is not using mathematics. Like for example, the data curator, the data governor, the one that govern the data, and then those who doing data AI ethics, the one that craft the policy. So AI has become a very big field that have multiple subfield that not everyone in the STEM can join as well, which is like whether you are STEM or not STEM, you can still join. But for the youngsters nowadays, like for all the children out there, I do really hope you guys to actually put your heart into STEM, because mathematics and science is a very interesting, and I would say the knowledge of mathematics and science is the one that make you think on how beautiful the world is made by Allah.
Right. Nicely put, Doctor. I really hope that you have the opportunity to go down to schools and talk to the students themselves. Because sometimes when teachers speak or tell students about AI, for example, teachers they are not really involved directly with AI development, but people like you are involved in AI development. So if given the opportunity, if you were to meet students in schools, what would you say to them?
For me, I would say, study hard, but study smart. Okay, then the next thing is like, AI is everywhere. If you didn't learn on how to build AI, how to be mingled with AI, how to socialize with AI, how to use AI correctly, then you will be dominated by AI. Then your place will be replaced by AI.
Right.
So if you don't want to be replaced by AI, study the AI.
I think you make a very valid point, because this is also the same point that has been repeated by some of the guests in this program regarding concerns that AI will replace or displace people in particular jobs. But I think what is more accurate is that AI will replace those who refuse to learn and master AI. So I think what's your comment on that?
Yes, I do agree with that, because that's how when people ask me about like whether AI can be replaced by someone, something like that. Okay, just imagine a job of I think like, because we're in the recording studio currently, just imagine the work of the editor is being replaced by the AI, because AI can do everything. The editor just click, pop, and then everything can work. But then, if you didn't get involved on how to manipulate the AI itself, which is to give a very good script recording, or maybe to tune the voice, to tune the sound, then you are just like being left behind. That's a very simple example. I think the another example will be like, I think like they can become a food panda or Grab food driver, right? So they don't need to learn AI. But then the food panda and Grab food driver also need to know how to learn the technology itself. So for me, you need to be able to be together with the AI, embrace the AI, so that like we can live together with them. It's actually helped us a lot lah.
Yes, I agree on that particular point, because as a researcher, definitely AI tools have made the life of a researcher much more efficient actually, and we save a lot of time. It's just that what's important is that we don't outsource our thinking to AI. We have to do our thinking ourselves, but assisted by AI. And that's why I think some people say that AI should be IA. Not artificial intelligence, but intelligent assistant. But anyway, going back to our topic is breaking barriers, Muslim women in AI. So as a Muslim yourself, what advice would you give to young Muslim women who are interested in pursuing careers in AI but may face barriers?
Okay, first of all, believe in Allah. That's the most important. Because when I was in Japan, I'm the only one. I always in the research lab, I always become the only person, female, wearing hijab. And we have like a lot of conferences and everything that we need to go. So I always go to the conferences alone in the US, UK, wherever it is. But then I try to make friends there. So it was like, for me, don't be afraid, even though you are just a female. You may be a one tiny person inside of like, a jungle of full of males, very big males. And then, but don't be afraid, because somehow you can show your potential sooner or later if you try to collaborate together with them. So be more collaborative, cooperative, try to learn from them, and try to make sure that you can be the same face with them lah. Standing strong with them together.
Meaning with collaborative effort, then you can actually show your value to other people. Going back to your past in Japan, you mentioned earlier that things in Japan are slightly worse than Malaysia when it comes to women in AI. Why is that so?
I think because female in Japan, they're not into the engineering field.
Okay.
They're not into the science field as well for the female. And then most of the females, after they get married, usually they will just like abandon their works and just stay home. And then another thing is like, maybe their culture itself. Their culture is like, male should do the engineering. Male would do the computer science. Male should do the mathematics. But not the female itself.
Okay.
So that's the culture of them lah. But now they try to break the barriers. So that's why we have the Women in AI presence in Japan. And there's another society that actually led by a female in Japan, which is the Machine Learning Tokyo. And then we also have Women in Tech that also lead in Japan. And they try to bring more female in Japan to join them, to make sure that they can be together, because Japan is much more togetherness. They are not really doing a thing alone. They like to do research, and everything should do together. So that's why when they have this togetherness together, then they will do it lah.
Okay. What about other Muslim countries? The participation of women in the field of AI, is it better than Malaysia?
I would say quite the same, quite similar. Malaysia is better.
Right.
Because even in, I think like Dubai, Saudi Arabia as well, I think like we also have 50-50. But in European continent is much better. European continent's females are much more welcome.
Into the field of AI.
Yes, in any other field as well.
Right. Okay. I'm still intrigued with Japan actually. If I may ask another question about Japan, when it comes to technology, people will say that Japan is one of the countries that is very much advanced in technology, and I would say that AI in Japan is probably much more advanced than in Malaysia. Is that perception correct?
Yes, that's totally correct. So basically, before I joined my EG, I was doing freelance with a company in Japan for 6 months, and I was very surprised because I started. After I graduated my PhD, I joined a university in Japan as assistant professor. But then after that, I come back to Malaysia and joined a company in Malaysia, multiple companies. And I was the only data scientist, the only AI engineer in the team usually. But then after that, I took some career break. I would like to just join a company in Japan back. And I was very surprised because they are totally much more advanced compared to us. Which is like, even their final year student, which is undergraduate degree students, they can read a lot of literature reviews, research papers, and then they can implement it with minimal supervision.
Right. But with the assistance of AI.
At that time we don't have that. We don't really have the ChatGPT. Is not really that matured at that time.
This was before 2022.
It's 2022, but it's at the early stage of ChatGPT.
Yeah. Right.
So at that time we do everything manually.
Okay.
And then we actually have the same product, the one that I actually founded another company, which is a no-code AI platform. So this company that I freelance also, they founded the same product as well. But their product is way better than us because they have a lot of customers that are looking for that, and they have a lot of engineers and researchers that can work on that. So what I can say is like, Malaysia, we lack of talent. Japan, they have a lot of like good talents. But if you are talking about the whole world, Japan is not really number one. The first one will be, I think, US and China maybe.
Right. Those two are definitely
yes.
Competing against each other.
Yes.
Right. Okay. What can we do to catch up?
What can we do to catch up? This is what I try to do with my team in my EG actually. So we are doing R&D plus building a product. So it's not really totally R&D. It's not totally building a product. And I try to make an assignment to all the AI engineers because I want to make sure that they come join my team. They are not just going to build a chatbot. They are going to build a real machine learning model. They are going to learn a lot of new machine learning and artificial intelligence item, and they should know how to deploy. So that's what I try to bring with my team, so that we have maybe if our model is not going well, then we do the literature review together. So we list out all of the papers, we read together, and after that we implement together. And then after that it's not okay, then we try to brainstorm why. So I try to grow the culture of you need, regardless you have a master or PhD or degree, you need to become very creative in building and solving your solution and solving your problem with AI lah.
Right. If you look at Malaysia, especially in the past 1 or 2 years, Malaysia seems to be, very much going into AI in a rather aggressive way, I would say, because, for example, the government has set up the Ministry of Digital, and then a number of universities have been given a huge amount of sums to set up AI faculties, to do research on AI involving various fields, medicine and others. Do you think that this is a good sign that Malaysia is actually moving towards the right direction?
I think it's a good sign. I really want to praise the governments that finally they think AI is the most important part in our government. But I think they should spend more on the research itself, not just because Malaysia is much more consuming country, right?
That's right.
It's not a manufacturing or research country. So basically, to build a good AI and data, I think we have Malam, I think the Malaysia large language models that's built by Hussein Zulkifli, right? That one requires a lot and tedious research stuff and a lot of things need to curate the data, write a research paper and everything, and they started with the community members. I think if government would like to support this kind of effort, it will be much more better, because we have something that we call product of Malaysia. So Malam is only built by Malaysian for Malaysian.
Right. With going back to ethics, something that you mentioned earlier, how can we ensure that ethics is instilled amongst those who are involved in AI?
Okay, this is the most important part. I think 2 years ago we have one of the researcher in Google. She got fired because of the ethics, because she tried to instill ethics in building the AI, but got fired. So that's why the data governance itself, when we building AI team, data team, we want to build any data or AI strategy, we need to have someone that really talk to the higher stakeholders. We need to be very ethical in building this data. For example, currently when we are in when I am in my EG, we deal with a lot of user data, customer data. So we need to be very integrity lah. Okay, say you are in the race of Malay, so you shouldn't buy this insurance, something like that, So who is the one that feed the data? They say Malay should buy this kind of insurance. Malay should buy takaful only. So we are the one that actually, make sure that the data that we curate is correctly tailored to that person. So for me, ethics itself should be inside the data engineer, the AI engineer lah. So they should join one course that called as AI ethics.
So they have to be trained for that.
Yes.
Okay. So otherwise the awareness will not be there, and they will do things that may be unethical or irresponsible. Right, Doctor. Looking ahead, we are now in 2024, going to 2025 soon. Looking ahead, how do you envision the role of Muslim women evolving in the field of AI?
I hope to have more women in the field, Muslim particularly, because in Women in AI, I truly told them that we are opposed onto LGBTQ. So Women in AI Malaysia, we stand for the gender gap only. We don't put the LGBTQ as inclusivity. That's the most important. And another thing is for the AI itself, we need more women, because AI should be built by all and for all. Okay. That's the most important part. So if AI is not be built by female, or it's not built by other people, which is non-techie people, maybe the data is not curated correctly, then what you give in, the garbage in, garbage out means you give in something that is very bad and will become very bad. But no one knows it's going to be very bad, because if the AI engineer didn't expose to everyone about the algorithm, about how they pick in the data, no one knows that it's going to be very bad.
So participation of everyone is needed so that the data will not be biased.
Yes, exactly.
So is it difficult to ensure that data is not biased? Because I notice that sometimes, especially in the early days of ChatGPT, the data tend to be quite biased because of the input data, right? So what are your comments on that?
I think it's a very difficult one, because according to my experience building the AI model itself, usually we will have a lot of biased data. So how to eliminate the bias in the data? So we need to check lah when we train the model, and we need to get the feedback from the user. So that's why in ChatGPT, the more you feed into them, the more you get the correct answer.
Right. Doctor, we're coming towards the end of our program. Our topic has been breaking barriers Muslim women in AI. Perhaps you have some concluding remarks before we end the program?
Okay, I hope for those that are listening to this session, I hope like you guys will go and pursue the field of AI, regardless you are in the technical field or non-technical field, you are in the STEM field or non-STEM field, you are female or male, you are Muslim, you are Chinese, Indian, or whoever you are, because AI is built for all and should be met by all.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Fairoza, for those very, I think, aptly put words as a concluding remark for our discussion today. We've been discussing breaking barriers Muslim women in AI. Thank you again, Dr. Fairoza, for sharing your views. And it is my hope that our discussion has given our listeners a better understanding on the importance of getting everyone involved in AI, regardless of their gender, their religion, their race. Inclusiveness and participation of all will ensure that AI is developed, deployed, and also utilized in a responsible, ethical, and beneficial manner, inshallah. Unfortunately, Doctor, we have come to the end of our program for this week. But before we end, allow me to record my heartfelt gratitude to you for gracing the program this week. Ladies and gentlemen, for the last 30 minutes, you have been listening to AI and You. I am Shaikh Mohd Saifuddeen by Shaikh Muhammad Saleh, signing off until next week. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.